You're at a gathering. Not a party, just a low-key hangout, 6 people, someone's living room. You laugh at the right moment, your face doing exactly what faces do. But behind it, a separate channel is running. Who just shifted their weight? That laugh landed a little flat. Was it too quick? You glance at your phone. No, you don't. You pretend to check the time so you can break eye contact for exactly 2 seconds and reset. No one notices. That's the point. You've been running this program so long it's invisible. When you finally get home and the latch clicks, your whole body exhales. That first silence isn't emptiness. It's the first real thing you've felt in 4 hours. And the internet will tell you that's just introversion. That you're simply recharging. That your need for solitude is a quiet superpower. I'm not going to say that, because there's a version of that quiet that isn't peace, and if you've never let yourself ask which one is yours, that question is about to arrive uninvited. Let's start with something your brain has been hiding from you. It's wired differently, and I don't mean that in the soft self-help way that gets recycled for views. I mean it in the way that shows up on a neurological scan. Researchers noticed something about brains like yours. Your baseline dopamine is lower. So while the people around you get progressively LIT from the social buzz, your nervous system is quietly running cost-benefit analyses. When can I leave? The room is taking in more information than anyone realizes. Every micro shift in tone, every half-second pause, every smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes, you're cataloging it. All in real time, whether you want to or not. Your brain processes social input at an extremely high resolution, and that processing costs cognitive fuel. A casual 2-hour hangout can drain the same resources another person spreads across an entire workday. By the end, you're not just tired, you feel unplugged at the source. And that's why small talk doesn't just bore you, it almost hurts. You don't struggle to make it, you struggle to justify the bandwidth it consumes. Your brain is wired to respond to depth, to novelty, to conversations that excavate something real. So when someone spends 5 minutes narrating their commute, or asks how work is going and doesn't actually pause for the answer, something in you quietly leaves the room. It's not rudeness. It's that your mind treats every exchange like an energy economy, and surface-level chatter almost always runs a deficit. The world calls that antisocial. It's not. Your brain isn't rejecting connection. It's filtering for the kind that doesn't leave you bankrupt. But I need to be honest with you early. Sometimes, I just don't do small talk becomes a locked door. Sometimes it's a way of never having to risk being boring, being awkward, being seen trying. The line between being selective and being avoidant is so thin most of us step over it without ever looking down. Then there's that moment everyone pretends doesn't exist. Someone asks, "How are you?" And for a split second your brain forks. One path wants to say the real thing, that you've been thinking too deeply, sleeping too little, wondering if anyone would notice if you faded out of the group chat for a month. The other path scans their face, calculates the social contract, and concludes they're asking out of ritual, not hunger. So you say, "I'm fine," and something small inside you dims. That's not shyness. That's hyper-awareness, and it never powers down. You walk into any room, and within seconds you've already mapped the emotional architecture. Who's performing, who's shrinking, who's still carrying the argument from the car. You feel the things nobody says. The too long pause before someone answers. The way their posture changes when a certain name comes up. You're not consciously analyzing this system runs in the background, like software you never installed and can't close. Psychologists call it high self-monitoring. Your brain is constantly auditing how you're landing, not just what you said, but the micro-expressions that replied. Not just the words, but the gap between what was spoken and what was meant. And you're doing all of this while trying to be present, splitting your processing power between participation and surveillance. No wonder you're done by 9. No wonder you scroll on your phone but don't absorb a single post. It's just a socially acceptable way to be alone in a full room. And then come the obligations. The texts that demand an answer within the hour. The check-ins. The invisible contract that says you must show up regularly to still count as someone who loves well. Here's what's draining you most. It's not people. It's the performance of availability. The constant low hum of expectations you never signed. And yes, sometimes the exhaustion is purely neurological. Sometimes you genuinely need to vanish into your own quiet for 3 days to recalibrate. But sometimes, and I think you already sense this, you're playing the role of someone who doesn't care when actually you care so much it terrifies you. Sometimes, "I'm just tired" is a translation of something riskier. I'm afraid of what happens when I actually let someone all the way in. But you knew that part. Here's what people get wrong about you. You're not against connection, not even close. The people you've let inside your walls didn't get there by accident. They earned it. Not through time served, not through showing up at the right events, but through something harder to label. Trust that doesn't need constant proof. A rhythm where you don't have to translate yourself into something easier to digest. Where silence between two people doesn't feel like a hole to fill, it feels like room. And in that room, in the shared quiet, you're not empty. You're the most yourself you've been all day. Your brain stops running the audit, your shoulders unclench. You're just there. And for a while, that's completely enough. Quality over quantity, when it's genuine, when it's deliberately chosen, it's one of the most anchored things a human can build. But I have to say the uncomfortable part. It's less beautiful when it's a story you tell yourself because connection feels too risky. When "I only need a few close people" quietly means "I'm too afraid to find out if more would stay." I think some of you already know that. Maybe you've known it for a while. There's a reason your solitude feels so safe, and it might not be the reason you've been reaching for. For a long time, being alone felt like the only place where nothing could go wrong, where you weren't too much or not enough or accidentally wrong in a way you couldn't name. That quiet, learned safety makes perfect sense. It still does, but it didn't materialize from nowhere. Maybe there was a version of you who still ran to the door when someone came home, who still raised a hand first, who hadn't yet learned that reaching out could cost you something. And one day, you don't remember exactly when that version went quiet and never fully returned. Or maybe you were the kid who was always too present, too loud, too needy, too full of feeling. And somewhere, at a kitchen table, in a hallway, in a room where your excitement was met with silence, you decided, "I'll just be less visible, less of a burden." And you got so skilled at it that it stopped feeling like a strategy and started feeling like your identity. Sometimes, that solitude is chosen and grounded and genuinely healthy. But sometimes, and this is what nobody in this space wants to admit, it's a wall that looks exactly like a window. You tell yourself you're enjoying the view, but you stopped opening the door a long time ago. The Surgeon General called chronic disconnection an epidemic. Same mortality risk as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I didn't expect that number either. Not because being alone is inherently dangerous, but because there's a critical difference between solitude that's chosen and solitude that's endured. And for some of you, this cuts even deeper. The wiring that makes social interaction cost more than most people will ever understand. That's real. That matters. And somewhere beneath the noise, a quiet thought. Maybe I've been protecting something that was never really mine to keep. So here's what I want you to sit with. I'm not going to label your solitude a flaw, and I'm not going to call it a superpower. Both of those are too tidy for something this human. Solitude is only worth protecting when you're choosing it from a place that feels like peace, and not from the familiar, quiet shape of fear that learned to call itself preference a long time ago. So the next time you pick the empty room over the full one, ask yourself honestly, am I protecting my energy, or am I avoiding my growth? If that question made you pause even for a second, you'd probably get something real from the other videos on this channel. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and tell me in the comments, when you're alone, is it peace, or is it something else wearing peace's name? I read them. Then watch the next video on the screen right now. It picks up exactly where this one left off.